Hello students, I welcome you again in the online lectures on detection and estimation theory. And in this lecture we are going to look at an example for matched filter, again from the communications perspective. So let us start. So in a communication system, rather than detecting a null hypothesis and an alternate hypothesis, what we are interested in to know is whether a bit 0 has been transmitted or a bit 1 has been transmitted. Okay, so I'm going to take an example from a communication system. Rather than just saying that no signal and there is one signal, we'll talk about there are signals that are present. For example, if we take, let's say, a BPSK kind of a signal. So in 0 we transmit a sinusoid sine 2 pi f ct, and for bit 1 we transmit, let's say, a shifted version of this sine, say plus phi. Okay, phi could be, let's say, pi. Okay, so in a communication system you could have different signals corresponding to different hypotheses. So we are going to take an example from a communication system, and let's consider this problem. The hypothesis 0 says that your output or your observation is equal to some signal S0 n that has been transmitted plus the white Gaussian noise. The hypothesis once again says that there was some another signal that was transmitted, let's say S1n, and then there was some white Gaussian noise. So n ranges from 0, 1 to capital N minus 1, and Wn is white Gaussian noise with mean 0 variance sigma square. Alright, so let's consider this problem and let's try to solve this problem again using the Neyman-Pearson theorem. Okay, so let's solve this problem using NP theorem, NP test. So what it says is that the probability of x given h1 divided by probability of h given h0 should be greater than some constant, let's say lambda. If this is correct, then we choose hypothesis 1 to be correct, and if it is less than lambda, we choose hypothesis 0 to be correct. So let's do this. So let me take the Bayesian approach in this. Let me take a Bayesian approach, and let me say, so I'm going to use a Bayesian approach in this case. You can do it with the NP test also. You will get a similar result because in both the cases you compute the likelihood function. So I'm going to take a Bayesian case, and in this let me consider priors are equal. That means probability of h0 is equal to probability of h1 is equal to half. Okay, so let me do this. So it means that my likelihood function in this Bayesian case should be greater than probability of hypothesis 0 divided by probability of hypothesis 1. I am considering here PE minimization problem. Okay, so this equals to 1 because both are same, and this I am equating it to lambda. Now let me write the likelihood function, the likelihood ratio. This is equal to the probability of x given h1 divided by probability of x given h0. This is equal to 1 over 2 pi sigma square power n by 2 exponential of minus 1 over 2 sigma square summation I goes from, let me write it, n, small n goes from 0 to capital N minus 1 xn minus s1 n whole square. Alright, so this is the likelihood for the h1 hypothesis, and for the h0 hypothesis or the null hypothesis I have this likelihood function, again the same thing, and inside it becomes n0 to capital N minus 1 xn minus s0n whole square. Alright, and this I am saying to be greater than 1. Alright, let me simplify this further. These two are going to cancel. I'm going to take log on both the sides. So if I take log on both the sides, so ln log of 1 is 0. So this becomes greater than 0. And this becomes minus 1 over 2 sigma square. Summation n goes from 0 to capital N minus 1. xn minus s1n whole square minus summation and again goes from 0 to capital N minus 1 xn minus s0 of n whole square. Alright, let me take the minus inside and 2 sigma square on the other side. What we are going to get is that the summation of xn minus s0 n whole square minus summation xn minus s1n whole square is greater than 0. So for hypothesis 1 to be true. Alright, so now let me define something called as a distance vector. So let me define this di square. This is defined as summation xn minus sin whole square. N goes from 0 to capital N minus 1. Okay, so this is what? This is squared Euclidean norm. Okay, how it is? See, can I write this in vector form? I can write it as x minus si vector norm square. Alright, we know that for a vector, say xi is a vector, the xi norm square is summation xi I square. Okay, I is the dimension of the vector, whatever is the dimension. Alright, so this becomes the distance between the vector x and vector si. Okay, so this tells me the distance between vector x and si. So what does this statement mean here? Let's try to understand this. This means, so I can write it in di form. So this means d0 square minus d1 square is greater than 0 for h1. Okay, for norm h1 to decide, I should have this particular thing correct, or d1 square is less than d0 square. That means I can write it as choose hi for which di square is minimum. Okay, so choose that hi for which the di square is minimum, and such kind of a detector or a receiver is called as a minimum distance receiver. All right, so while solving the likelihood ratio, we got the difference between the distances, and we choose the hypothesis, that hypothesis for which this distance is minimum, distance between the observation and the transmitted signal. All right, so this is a very simple detector which is called as minimum distance detector, and we have all experienced this in our communication system. If you remember a constellation diagram of a BPSK, let's take. For a BPSK, the constellation diagram says, so this is, let's say, the energy. All right, so if I get my so this is what I transmit, +1 and -1. So, sorry, so here this is bit 1, this is bit 0, and obviously if I receive some point here, I'm going to compute the distance of this received vector from these 2 points and choose one which has the minimum distance. So this is what we have been doing in our communication systems, and it is exactly the same thing here also. Now let me further expand this distance metric again. So this di square is summation xn minus si of n whole square. Let me open the brackets here. So this becomes xn square plus summation sin square minus 2 summation xn si of n. Now when we are looking at a minimum distance here, then this does not play any part in the optimization. So we can just probably forget about this. So let me denote another metric which is called as ti of x, which I am saying it equal to be twice of, or rather I am going to remove twice. I can say this to be xn times sin minus summation si square n and half. So I'm defining this metric here. So this is a definition metric. So this I'm calling as the test statistic for ith hypothesis. So what it says is that either you find out the di square to be minimal, or you try to maximize ti of x. You can see this, I have multiplied this particular equation by -1, so therefore this is here to be plus and this is minus. Okay, so I can say that choose hi for which tix is maximized. Alright, now we all know that summation si square n, this is what, the energy in the signal. So I can denote it by E of I. So I can replace this summation by just E of I. So this is equal to summation xn si of n minus E of I. E of I is the, so let me write here, energy in signal S. So this becomes half. Alright, so I can also draw a correlator for this kind of a setting. So what I can do is, how do I detect? So I get my input sequence xn. What I first do is I multiply it by, so I have two sequences. So I multiplied with S0 of n on one side and S1 of n on the other side. Then what I do is I take a summation from n goes from 0 to capital N minus 1. Again the same thing here. Summation n goes from 0 to capital N minus 1. And then what I do is I do a biasing. So this is, I add here and I subtract this energy, which is half of E0 here, and this is half of E1, and then I feed these to my decision making process and choose the max, and then you get H0 hypothesis to be correct or H1 hypothesis to be correct. Alright, so this is how the block diagram of this kind of a detector will look like, which is based on the your correlator, replica correlator. Okay, So this is what we discussed last time in our class. So there could be two kind of replicators, replica correlator and matched filter. You can also convert this into a matched filter setting also. Now another interesting thing for this problem to look at is what is its performance. Okay, how does this particular detector perform? So how do we quantify that? We quantify by finding out the probability of error. So what is probability of error? P is equal to the probability that you detected hypothesis 0 when hypothesis 1 was correct times the probability of hypothesis 1 plus the other way around. You detected probability of the hypothesis 1 instead of hypothesis 0 and multiplied by the prior. Now consider priors to be same. Then we can write this probability of error to be half times probability of H0 given H1 plus probability of H1 given H0. Alright, now let's try to figure out these two probabilities. Now what is probability of H0 given H1? What is this probability? This probability is the probability that your T0 hypothesis, T0 statistics is greater than T1 statistic given hypothesis 1 was correct. Alright, so let me define another Tx, which is, let's say it is T1 of x minus T0 of x. I'm defining another one. So you can instead write this probability. So using this, you can write this as probability that T of x is less than 0 given hypothesis 1 was correct. Alright. Now what is T of x given hypothesis 0 is correct? Sorry, hypothesis 1. T of x given hypothesis 1 correct. This is equal to, so let me first write T of x. So T of x, I can write it as, what is T1 of x? T1 of x, from here you can see T1 of x is, this is S1. Okay, so this is summation xn S1 of n minus half E1. And what is T0 of x? Minus summation xn S0 of n plus half E0. Let me simplify this. I can write this as summation xn S1n minus S0 of n minus half of E1 minus E0. So this is my T of x. Now what is T of x given hypothesis H1 is correct? If hypothesis x1 is correct, I can write xn to be S1 of n plus Wn, right, from our hypothesis formation. So this becomes S1 of n plus Wn times S1 of n minus S0 of n minus half of E1 minus E0. Now we can expand this particular part. This becomes S1 square of n minus summation S1 n S0 of n plus summation Wn of S1n minus summation Wn of S0n minus half of E1 minus E0. Alright, so this is my T of x given H1. Now again coming back, see, we want this particular quantity, or rather we want this particular quantity to be evaluated. So we want the probability of Tx less than 0. So to get that, we want the distribution of Tx. This is what we require. So what will be the distribution of Tx given H1? You can see our signal is fixed, so this is a constant. This is a constant thing, which is in fact energy E1. See, this is also another constant, which is a correlation between the S1 and S0, the two signals. Now S1 is constant, S0 is constant here. Wn is a variable. This is a random variable or a random process, a noise process, which is distributed as a Gaussian. So Wn, we know this is a Gaussian with mean V0 variance sigma square. This is again a constant. So what happens is that this particular quantity is sum of Gaussians with zero mean and with certain variances, okay, and variance sigma square, okay. So these all are, so the sum will be again a Gaussian distribution, okay. We know this part. Now what is the mean and variance of this Gaussian distribution? Let's figure out that part here. So now we figure out the mean of this T of x given hypothesis H1 is correct. So what we do is we take the expectation of this particular quantity here. So let's take the expectation. So expectation of this will be the same. So this is E of E1 minus this is going to be the expectation of summation S1n and S0 of n plus, see here Wn is a constant, Wn is a noise with the mean 0, and S1n is a constant, so the expectation of this is going to be 0. The same thing is also here, so the expectation is going to be 0 minus half of E1 minus E0. So this turns out to be, so if we do the maths here, so this will be half of E1 plus E0 minus, now see S1n and S0n are constant, so expectation does not matter much, so this becomes summation S1 and S0 of n. So this is the expectation of this particular quantity here. And what is going to be the okay, we can also expand this, we can write it in another form. So we can write it something like this: half of E1 is what? It is summation S1n square. What is E0? It is summation S0 square n, and this is same as it, minus twice of summation S1n S0 of n. And this particular quantity you can write it as S1n minus S0n whole square, okay. And this we know, we can write it in vector form. This is half of vector S1 minus S0 norm square, okay. So this is the mean of this particular test statistics given hypothesis 1 is correct. In a similar fashion, we can also find out the variance of this test hypothesis T of x given hypothesis 1 is correct. This is equal to the expectation of this particular quantity here. So let me write this quantity here. So this is half of E1 plus E0 minus summation S1n S0 of n plus summation Wn S1n minus summation Wn S0 of n. So this is the value minus the mean. So the mean here is half of E1 plus E0 minus plus summation S1 n S0 of n, and then I can take the square and then take the expectation. So this is the definition of the variance. You can verify it. So if we let's solve this. So this 2 cancels out, this also cancels out, and what we are left with is these two quantities here. So this is equal to expectation of summation Wn S1n minus summation Wn S0 of n whole square. All right, and then let's open the brackets and solve it. So I'm not going to solve it again, but I'm going to directly write it, and it becomes, so let me show you one more step which will be much more intuitive for you, and this is summation Wn of S1 of n minus S0 of n and whole square. All right, so this is, so here it is a summation over Wn times this particular factor here. I'm directly writing it. You can open the square brackets and then you can solve it. You're going to get sigma square of S1 minus S0 norm square to be the variance of this test statistics under H1 hypothesis. All right, so my Tx, the test statistics under hypothesis 1 is distributed as a normal distribution with mean is half of S1 minus S0 norm square, and variance is sigma square S1 minus S0 norm square. All right, now we can also do the same exercise for Tx given H0 hypothesis, and I'm going to directly write its statistics. You can do the similar exercise for this case also, and this turns out to be minus half of S1 minus S0 norm square, and variance remains the same. So if I draw the two PDFs, so the two PDFs look something like this. So this is half norm of S1 minus S0 whole norm square. This is minus half of S1 minus S0 norm square, and there is a Gaussian curve here, and there is another Gaussian curve. Sorry. There is going to be another Gaussian curve which is going to be something like this. Obviously these two are symmetric, same mean with same variance, and this is our decision points. Okay, you remember we choose H1 if Tx is greater than 0 and H0 if Tx is less than 0. So you remember that. So beyond this we choose H1, and towards the left we choose H of 0 as the hypothesis. All right, and now it is very simple. My probability of error is half times probability of H0 given H1 plus probability of H1 given H0, and this is equal to, both the probabilities are same, so you can directly write it as Q of half times S0 minus S1 norm square divided by the under root of the variance, which is sigma square norm of S0 minus S1 square. All right, so this is going to be my probability of error for our case here. So this I have talked about from the binary perspective when we are transmitting 2 bits at a time. So here the bit 0 has been transmitted with signals S0 of n, and bit 1 is transmitted with signal S1 of n. We can now extend this particular analysis to multiple case, which is, let's say, called as a Emery hypothesis testing. So we are going to take our Emery case, and we can say that hypothesis HI, under hypothesis HI, my x of n is equal to Si of n plus W of n. And again we know that n goes from 0 to capital N minus 1, and Wn are again wide Gaussian noise with mean 0, variance sigma square. Alright, so we now just don't have two hypotheses, but we have multiple M hypotheses. So H0 to H of capital M minus 1 is the number of hypotheses in our case. So we can do a similar analysis as we did before. So we can define our test statistic for hypothesis K as summation xn sk of n goes from 0 to capital N minus 1 minus half of energy of the kth signal here. Okay, and we choose hk for which tk of x is maximized. Alright, now in this particular case, finding out the probability of error is really tough. Why it is tough is, let me show you why it is tough and what we are going to do to tackle that problem. So PE can be written as probability of HI given HJ was correct times the probability of H of J, and then there is a summation. There will be two summations here. Summation over I goes from 0 to m minus 1. This is J goes from 0 to m minus 1, and J is not equal to I. So this is my P of E. Or you can also write it as 1 minus summation I goes from 0 to capital M minus 1, probability of detecting the hypothesis correctly. Okay, another way of writing the probability of error. Now let's see this part more closely here. So let's see this probability of HI given HI here. What is this? This is the probability that my test statistics Ti of x is maximum among all Ti of x's. Okay, let me write Tj of x given hypothesis Hi is correct. Okay, now what does this mean? This means that probability of Ti of x is greater than the maximum of T0 of x, T1 of x till T of m minus 1 of x given hypothesis Hi is correct. Alright, so now there could be, these two could be dependent on each other. So in general we cannot solve this particular probability. In only a very specific case, when the SIs and SJ are orthogonal, can we figure out this probability? We can separate this out in this form. So we can write it as Tix is greater than T0 of x, and Tix is Ti of x is greater than T1 of x, and so on. So we can, when these all are independent, then we can separate them out with an intersection, and then we can solve this probability. But in general, solving such kind of probability problems is very difficult. So I will stop here, and in the next class we will look at some more interesting results for the known signal case, for the deterministic signal case under wide Gaussian noise. Thank you very much.